Hello audience. In this video I assembled the rear suspension. At least that was the plan. As I've shown you before, I got new springs. I got these from General Spring. They were about $140 each, and according to their website, these were used from 60 to 63 on the Falcon and Comet 2-door and 4-door sedans. I also got new bushings. Now with these I ran into a slight problem, the same that I did with the Impala when I was putting that together. Everyone sells new bushings for these in polyurethane, but if you're some kind of nerd and you want rubber bushings like they had originally, not that many people carry them. I ended up buying these also from General Spring, so they are commercially available. Now when I was painting the underside of the floor, I didn't touch the wheel wells because they have some kind of tar coating or something like that, which made them difficult to brush paint. So I've been painting them with this. This is Rust-Oleum truck bed liner. It doesn't really look like truck bed liner when you spray it, but it does have a matte black sort of clean look, which is what I'm looking for. So installing the front bushing here is kind of tricky because it needs to compress about 1/4 of an inch, and there's no way to take this apart, so you actually have to compress it while installing it. And just putting the jack under it and forcing it in, that doesn't work. It doesn't want to conform to that. So one trick I used on the other side was covering everything with lubricant, and I ended up using car wash soap because it was the first thing I could find that looked like it would work. And this stuff surprisingly did work pretty well. This is a Ford 6 3/4 inch rear axle. Standard equipment at the time for a 4-door sedan with a 144, and this is most likely the original one to that car. I already took it out and rebuilt it a few years ago. There's a video on that. I replaced the bearings and seals. The only thing I didn't do was replace the wheel bearings, partly because they looked like they were still good, but mostly because they require some specialty tools that I don't have. Well, since I had it out this time, I decided to replace those. So I took them to somebody who also doesn't have the right tools, but they were more confident about it than I am. One downside about these is there's not much of anything available new for them, which is quite surprising being as how popular they once were. Luckily, all the bearings and seals are standard sizes that are still available today. So when I rebuilt it, I took the original bearings over to the local Napa Auto Parts, and they were able to match them up with modern day replacements. And the wheel bearings were the same story. The one thing I discovered looking for wheel bearings on this is a lot of part suppliers do advertise that they sell wheel bearings, but many of them don't even know what a 6 3/4 inch is. Most of them think all Fords either had an 8-inch or a 9-inch. So, like the rest of them, I had to find them by part number. The part number for the wheel bearings for this is 88506. Luckily, most parts houses do have a bearing with that number. I was able to find these at AutoZone. So that's all done, and it's ready to go back in. So while I had it apart this time, I decided to inspect the brakes. And it was a good thing I did, because I found out that both wheel cylinders were seized, so the rear brakes weren't working at all. Now, one cylinder I was able to clean up and fix, which is that one. The other one was just rusted shut, so I ordered a new one and I'm waiting for it. Also, the brake lines are rust pitted pretty bad, and some of the fittings are starting to round off, so I might also make new brake lines for it. But all that I'm going to worry about some other time. For now, I'm just going to put this back in the car. New problem. With no weight on the rear axle, it's so far down that the shock absorber isn't long enough to attach. So I tried fixing it by jacking up this side. It compressed the spring a little bit, then it started lifting up the entire car. So the car at the moment is not heavy enough to compress the spring enough to attach the shock absorber. So for now, I'm just going to leave them disconnected. Well, it definitely isn't sitting too low anymore. Yeah, it's sitting way too high right now. Now, before we panic, there's a few things to keep in mind. Now, the springs are brand new. They haven't settled yet, so they naturally sit a bit too high when they're brand new. Also, Everything that could be unbolted from the back of the body has been removed, so the car doesn't weigh anywhere near as much as it should. So I expected the car to sit a little bit too high. Not quite this high, though. Now, after I assemble everything and drive this around for about a month, it's probably going to sink a little bit. Will it settle enough? I don't know, but if it doesn't, there's ways to adjust the ride height. But that's not important right now. Right now I want to finish assembling this. I still have to tighten up the bushings and install the shock absorbers, so I'm going to throw some dead weight in the trunk until the height is down to where I think it should be. So at the moment, from the ground to the lower molding is about 24¼ inches. And that lowered it about ½ an inch. It's still sitting way too high, so I think there might be something wrong with the springs. Hello, audience. In this video we're taking it apart again. It's another day. I've thought about this and I've decided what to do. I'm going to take the springs apart and reconfigure the leaves. We're going to take the biggest leaf, which is this one on top, off, and then reassemble it. This will make the spring weaker and ride lower, which is what we're looking for. Now, by doing that, the spring is going to be thinner, which means the U-bolts are going to be too long. So to compensate for that, I'm going to add a spacer. I took the bottom leaf out of the original spring, and I'm going to put that on the very bottom. That's going to take up the space that we lose from the leaf we're removing. So I'm going to put it together that way, and we'll see what happens. Well, that made an improvement. It's still sitting too high, but like I said, it should at this point. I've had some time to think about this, and I've decided I'm just going to give up on it for now. The bushings are still loose. What I'm going to do is finish everything else, reassemble the car, get the weight down to where it should be, and then we'll see where the ride height is. If it's still too high or the springs are too stiff, I'll take another leaf out of each side. But I don't think I'll have to. I think it's good enough right now, but we'll see. Well, that was a disappointment. I was hoping I could just bolt it all together and it'd be right the first time, but these are the problems you run into with antiques sometimes. Now, we did make quite an improvement on the floor, though, because looking under here, everything is just so clean now. I mean, I can't believe the improvement that's happened on this. I mean, before it was just dirty and you crawl under here and rust falls in your eyes, and now it's just clean. It looks really good. And I'm so happy about that, I almost don't even care about the springs. Now, like I said, I plan to leave it the way it is right now and get back to work on everything else. I still need to fix the floor, which I'm working on right now. That might be the next video. I still need to reassemble the back of the car, and I guess we can add rebuilding the brake system to the list also. Now, when I'm going to get around to all that, I don't know, but you'll see it in future videos. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. A bit of useless trivia. The lug nuts are the same size as a Model A, 13/16.